there, and welcome back to another Mordheim video. So, let's talk some magic today, shall we? Or to be more precise, let's talk about the Eshin Sorcerer, the next hero in the Skaven lineup. He is the only mage the Skaven actually have available to them, so yeah, that's also kinda his job. He's there to cast spells, debuff enemies, buff your own troops, and just be a nuisance for the enemy. If we have a look at his stat line, this is also very well reflected in there. His strength is really low, he's actually injured, so would normally be 9. His toughness is not that high, his agility is even for Skaven is not that high. 15 is lower than most other Skaven heroes can have, so he's not that great in terms of physical strength, so his combat effectiveness is not that great. His mental strength, however, is really high. He has a high leadership, very high intelligence, and quite the high alertness. Which means, yeah, he's very good in that department. If you look at his martial skills, they are all very underwhelming. I mean, his ballistic skill is fine, his weapon skill is decent, but for a hero, still pretty low. And his accuracy is actually the lowest in the entire Skaven Warband. Everyone else has higher accuracy than this guy, even the Warp Guards. So, if you look at all this, we can already see he is not a good combat character. His job is not to be using weapons in the conventional sense. He won't be standing there just shooting 3 times a turn at an enemy hero or something, or just even hitting them with this stuff. In most cases, he's not supposed to be doing that. His job is to be using his magic, which we will talk about in a bit. But still, you want to use some form of weapon, obviously, on him, simply because if you need to attack something to kill it, you still can. And also there are some skills that allow you to still use weapons to a decent effect, even if it's not for damage. To make use of that, I usually play him with a staff and a warplock pistol as his weapons. Staff simply because Zin's curse chance reduced, which is always nice. If he's casting magic, he's just not supposed to blow himself up. I had this a few times where my mage just instantly killed himself using a spell. And yes, that can happen. He will just do 9,999 damage to himself and blow up. Yeah, that can happen. So, staff's good. And warplock pistols, simply because this guy is supposed to be a bit of a range character. I maxed out his ballistic skill for the most part, and he can hit stuff. Let's just say like that. And there are some ranged skills that actually can support what he's supposed to be doing pretty well. Now, let's have a look at the armor. Here you have to consider that even light armor will actually reduce your spellcasting chance, so you want to give him clothing. It's pretty much the only option. You can give him light armor, but there's no real point. In terms of his headgear, the same for here. Helmets would actually reduce his spellcasting chance, so you want to give him a Penadon amulet with a fitting enchant. In terms of items, you could give him a Mordheim map, or even there are some potions that actually increase his spell casting chance. I don't know if I have any here, but there are, and you could maybe give him some of these, which are okay. I usually don't use items that often, so yeah. So now let's look at his skills. You can already see that there are some that are pretty standard for Skaven, like sidestep, but he also has guidance, which is very important on this character for the way I usually use him, which I will talk about when we're discussing his spells. The rest of his skills are a bit more supportive than your usual range character. He has Nerf Shot, which is pretty nice if you want to enable others to do damage simply by removing the enemy defensive, and Pinning Shot, simply to allow your other characters to kite away from enemies. And the rest are just support his range capabilities a bit. Quick reload and overhead are always nice to have. I would also consider giving him Crippling Shot, simply put away some more offensive points from enemies, which is always nice. If you would play him as a full-on melee character, I don't really think there are that many spells or skills in that case that would be quite that great for him. You could give him a few more leadership things then, which is always nice, just buff a bit. But in most cases, yeah, there are not that many great melee spells for him. Now let's get to the interesting part, which are his spells. And here's where his true potential lies. Most of his spells are actually pretty potent debuff in terms of weather, Gaze of the Horned Rat, and Sorcerer's Curse. All three of these are very, very potent debuffs in their own rights. Wither just reducing the enemy stat line, Gaze of the Horned Rat taking away a considerable amount of offensive points from enemies in range, and Sorcerer's Curse reducing enemies' armor and parry stance and dodge stance, which is really, really good. Also, I usually give him Blessed with Filth and Warp Lightning, just for a bit of bad damage potential. Now, where does all of this leave us? The way I usually play the Eshin Sorcerer is a bit of an enabler for other units, usually either for Black Skaven or for the Red Ogre. He's really well suited for this job, simply because of his debuffs and Blessed with Filth. If you, for example, debuff an enemy captain, an Empire captain, let's just say, in heavy armor, shield, helmet, sword, all that jazz, you just put Sorcerer's Curse on him and Wither. You will already have make it a ton easier for yourself to kill that man. Especially for your Black Skaven. Your Red Ogre in that case is actually a bit better off, simply because he has armbands and can't be parried anyway. But like I said, for your Black Skaven or even your heroes, other heroes, you will make it a lot easier to kill someone. Or let's just say the fighting other Skaven. In that case, actually the dodge reduce would also be very valuable. So what I like to do with this guy is I either, like I said, use him for Black Skaven, or I use him as a personal support for my Red Ogre. Just let him have a staff, and just stay at the side of the Red Ogre, constantly buffing him with Blessed with Filth and debuffing anything he is supposed to be hitting, or that is trying to hit him. If correctly supported with that, your Red Ogre can actually be a complete monster, just tearing apart enemy warbands. And the Red Ogre is a lot more effective if he has this kind of support. Another reason why he's good with the Red Ogre is simply because he has guidance as standard, which is already really nice. You need guidance for your Red Ogre. You should also consider upgrading it, simply because you run the risk of just forgetting to put it on again, and then when you get out of combat, your Red Ogre just stands there like an idiot and can't do anything. So yeah. But it's not only the Red Ogre. In general, the debuffs this guy has are really, really good. I mean, like I said, even if you just put Wither and cause Sorcerer's Curse on an enemy and then attack him with one or two of your Skavens, you will already make it a ton easier to kill him, no matter what enemy it is. But something you have to consider is, and now we get to the negatives, he's a sorcerer, so there's always the risk that you will just get cursed by Tzeentch and just lose his capability to use magic for the rest of the mission, or just blow up, stun himself, or even some enemies or some of your allies around him. And another negative with him is his own offensive capability is not that great. He needs someone to enable to really do his job. He himself won't do much damage in most situations. Yes, he can shoot or hit them with the staff, but in most cases it's just better if he has something to support. He's not your primary damage tool. His skills are simply not made for that. His stat line is not that great for direct combat. So yeah, I usually bring him, like I said already, in combination with a Red Ogre or multiple Black Skaven, simply to enable them. But he can be brought in pretty much any composition just to fine with his spells. Just debuffing enemies, buffing your own dudes. Yeah. Eshin Sorcerer, definitely a fun hero to use if you use him correctly. There are, of course, other spells than the one I've shown you. You can look those up for yourself. There are some interesting stuff between them, but I usually run with this setup. It's just worked out for me the most. Another thing you can consider with the Eshin Sorcerer is you could give him the... where is it? It's your Born Leader talent, which would improve his stat line by quite a bit actually, which is pretty nice, and it would allow you to bring him as a leader. Now, what are the pros as bringing him as your leader? Well, like I said, I usually use him to support either a Red Ogre or multiple Black Skaven. If you bring him as a leader, you can do both. You can have your Red Ogre and two Black Skaven, which leaves your Warband as a really powerful melee warband if you bring a ton of warp guards to support them as well. And this guy just debuffing enemies, and then your warriors just cut them to pieces. It's a really, really powerful setup if you use correctly. You will lose quite a bit of mobility, and you will lose quite a bit of range damage, but still, it's a possibility. Or you can just bring him and another ranged unit, and only one Black Skaven and a Red Ogre, or even bring no Red Ogre and just bring your usual setup, but with him as your leader. All of these are possibilities if you play with the Eshin Sorcerer. Another bit of problem you need to consider is you can get him pretty early on, which you should, because leveling this guy up is a bit annoying, because in early missions he won't do that great. You can put out his first spell, which is Wither, which he gets for free. But Wither alone is nice, but if you could also have another Black Skaven just hitting away with the two-handed weapon, you have to consider that for yourself. You can also just get him at a higher level as a recruitment, but I usually just level him up as early as I can, so the benefits I need I get pretty early then, which is always nice. So that should be pretty much everything you need to know about Eshin Sorcerer. If you have any other suggestions on how you could play him or anything I forgot, please post a comment down below and I will get to you. Maybe I will do an update for this at one point. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me down a like or even subscribe to my channel. I will keep doing these Mordheim guides for the other Skaven heroes pretty soon, and just need to level them up a bit more so I can get them at the decent level again. I actually had them all leveled up on my old computer, but I didn't get my saved files for Mordheim on my new computer for some fucking reason. I lost them in Steam Cloud, so yeah, need to do quite a bit of leveling still, but we will get there. But until then, have a nice day.